Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here at On Deck. We have a lot to talk about with the Atlanta Braves and the stretch that they're about to go on. But before we do that, I wanted to reflect over the past couple of weeks because we can't go and talk about what's to come if we haven't talked about where we've been. Of course, the Braves are coming off of two series wins, one over the Milwaukee Brewers, the other over the Colorado Rockies, which, of course, with the Rockies we kind of expected, but you can never take them for granted. The Braves do take the win there, and first off, some amazing pitching performances. First, it was Spencer Strider with 13 strikeouts, and the next day, Grant Holmes comes in and throws 15 strikeouts. Now, the main difference here is Spencer Strider won the game that we were just talking about. Grant Holmes, unfortunately, the bullpen unable to come through for him, but the Braves do take the series 2-1 nonetheless. So some good there, some bad there, no doubt. I still think the bullpen is the biggest problem on this team because we knew that, Spencer Strider was going to come back. We know that Reynaldo Lopez is going to come back. And we also knew that Ronald Acuna Jr. was going to come back. The bullpen, nobody's coming to help them. At the trade deadline, if there's anything to go after if the Braves are still in it, to me it's got to be the bullpen. I still will stand firm on that. I don't think there's enough there to last through the regular season or potentially in the postseason if the Braves are to make it. But that all said, let's go ahead and talk about what's to come. Over the next 4 series, it's all division competitors. Of course, it starts with the National League East division leading New York Mets, which is just sickening to say. We have a 3-game series with them, first at Truist Park. We then go to Miami to take on the Marlins for 3 games, which hopefully the Braves can pull out the win there. They really need it. We then go to New York and have 4 games against the Mets in Citi Field, and then we come back and take on Philadelphia at home. So busy next few series over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But here's the deal. Mathematically speaking, over the next couple of weeks, this is do or die time for the Braves. There's no doubt to me that that's the case. You have 4 division rivals that you're taking on in a row consecutively, and 2 of which are above you in the standings. And here's the thing. It's not really the Mets and the Phillies that we're trying to overtake at this point. Right now, the Braves are 13 games back of the New York Mets, okay? It's not to say that the division is just completely out of hand. Crazier things have happened. But the Mets and the Phillies aren't really the teams that we're looking for here. The teams that we're looking for are those at the bottom of the pile that are currently overtaking a wild card spot. Right now, the lowest one is the Padres, who we are 8 games back of. So here's the deal. Here's what I mean by all of this. Right now, the Braves have 31 wins today, entering play tomorrow. The Mets are on pace for over 101 wins. Okay, they are likely going to get, if not 100 wins, pretty darn close to it, pending something traumatic happening, which is always possible. But that's, mathematically speaking, what they are on pace to do is 101 wins. The Phillies are on pace for 96 wins if the Braves wanted to overtake second place in the division. Right now, the Braves are on pace for 72. Okay, that's how bad this start has been. And we can get into a debate about whether it was the bullpen, whether it was the offense, whether it was the rotation, whether it was injuries, whether it was the manager, whether it was the third base coach. We can all get into that. That's the mathematic fact. They are on pace for 72 wins. That can change, but they're on pace for 72. They can have a hot streak. Lord knows they can have a low streak. So we'll have to see how it goes. But right now they're on pace for 72. If they are to go on a hot streak at any point this year, the Padres are on pace for around 90 to 91 wins. So mathematically speaking, the Braves need about 90 wins to have a chance at the dance, to have a chance to make it to the wild card. Okay, that's where they currently sit. They have got to find 20 extra games where they can win based on what they're projected to do at the moment on pace-wise. So what does that mean in terms of the next 92 games? Because that's how many the Braves have left. They have 92 games left in the season. We're almost halfway there, but not quite. So out of those 92, the Braves need 61 wins. And in case you're trying to do the math in your head, that's a 663 win percentage throughout the rest of the year. Now, that might sound impossible. I don't discount that. But hear me out. It is possible, and here's why I think it's possible. Number one, we do have Ronald Acuna Jr. back, and he is playing out of his ever-loving mind. A 390 average, 7 homers in 21 games. Just an 1,100-plus OPS. Outstanding numbers. It's a short sample size, but to be coming back from injury and immediately putting up those kinds of numbers, the only thing he's lacking in right now is stolen bases, and I'm only saying that because we're talking about Acuna. And I think they're probably going to be patient with that. I don't think he's had a ton of opportunities for stolen bases. He's got one, so we know he can do it, but they're probably being patient with him. They probably don't want to run him like he did last year and really push it. Just for injury purposes and to keep him healthy, and I don't blame anybody for that. But he's playing like an MVP, which is what you need him to do, certainly at a time like this. There are other concerns. I mentioned the pitching staff. We all know A.J. Smith-Shawver out for the season. Terrible way to go. He was in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. And really started to find himself at the major league level, which I'll be honest with you, around spring training, that's what I was predicting, that A.J. Smith-Shawver would kind of find his way in Major League Baseball. We always knew he had the stuff, but he had the right mindset. He had some just tremendous appearances at the major league level this year, and it's unfortunate that, of course, his season came to an end. He'll either do he already had it done. It was either the UCL surgery or Tommy John. I'm not sure, but best wishes to him, of course. Reynaldo Lopez, currently on the 15-day IL. He'll be back at some point, we hope. But right now, your rotation basically consists of Spencer Strider, Spencer Schwellenbach, Chris Sale, Grant Holmes, and Bryce Elder. And Bryce Elder, by the way, terrific appearance a few weeks ago. 8 innings pitched. Just phenomenal. We ended up not winning that game, ironically enough. But he had a great appearance. He followed that with a not-so-great appearance, so he's still kind of hit or miss. The rest of the rotation is pretty sound. I mentioned Grant Holmes earlier with the 15 strikeouts. I can't really say anything bad about that right now, but what I will say is I still think having him in the bullpen would be quite a help, especially at the rate we're going right now with the lack of relievers, consistent relievers in the bullpen. I think having a guy like Grant Holmes that can come in and maybe cover 3 on the back end of a game, or even 2 at the back end of a game, even 1 in the back end of a game could be tremendous help in the bullpen. And unfortunately right now we're using him in the starting rotation, which again, I'm not opposed to, but you kind of don't have a choice. And that's not where you want to be either. You want to be able to pick and choose your spot for using Grant Holmes. Right now you're not able to do that. You're pretty much stuck with this is what we have available because of the injuries and because of our limitations. And right now our bullpen, I've said it since the beginning of the season, I thought it was going to be the most questionable thing. I did not think we were going to have the offensive woes that we've had. And that's kind of a thing, and I've said this, that's a thing that you kind of live with and die with because they're your guys. You're not going to trade away the guys you have locked up for substantial, years on a contract. And I just don't think that that's really where we've taken a dip. And I went and looked at the numbers today, just from last year to this year. Hear me out. Last season, the Braves led in team ERA. Okay, they led all of Major League Baseball in team ERA. They led shutouts, all Major League Baseball in shutouts. They led everybody in strikeouts as well. Well, this year they're 5th in strikeouts, they're 25th in shutouts, and I want to say they're around 12th in team ERA. The offense has taken a down step, no doubt about that. That's in there too, but it's not that drastic. It's not from 1st to 25th in shutouts. That, to me, just speaks to where we are in the pitching staff at the moment. And it's nobody's fault per se, but we didn't re-sign A.J. Minter. That, I think, was a misstep. Even if it was financially motivated, which it was. I think that was a misstep. I think we tried to do what the Braves do a lot, which is put basically the island of misfit toys in the bullpen and kind of see what happens. But it didn't work out. It has not worked out this year. Eventually, if you get a Joe Jimenez back, that could be a substantial help, whenever that may happen. But right now, I think that if the Braves are competitive, I mentioned they're 8 games back right now in the wild card. If they are competitive come July 31st trade deadline, I think at that point, obviously we're buyers. If we're not competitive, let's say we're 12 games back of the wild card, even if we're still at 8 games behind the wild card, I don't think we're going to be aggressive at the deadline. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're going to be aggressive at the deadline. And there's a difference in just being a buyer and a seller. I don't think it's that black and white or that clear cut. I think it's more we're either going to be a buyer, and I think we're going to go buy bullpen help. We may buy a bat, but more than likely bullpen help, and we're going to rely on Reynaldo Lopez to come back potentially and be a starter. But that, to me, is where we're going to buy, mostly. If we buy a bat, I think you may trade a Jurickson Profar possibly just because he can't help you in the playoffs. You obviously had the steroid or performance enhancer issue. You may not want to deal with that. I don't know. I could be, talking out of my rear here. I don't know. But the other component of this is you may be a soft seller, not a fire seller, but a soft seller. And here's what I mean by that. You might sell Marcell Ozuna, right? Number one, he's playing hurt right now, and all due credit to Marcell Ozuna for doing that because he doesn't have to. And the fact that he's suiting up every day and playing in that condition is just remarkable. But you could sell him because anybody that is a contender would love to have a bat like that, no doubt about it. On top of that, if you were to let him walk, especially since he's a free agent at the end of the year, other people have mentioned Chris Sale. That is potential as well. He does have another year or two on his contract, but that's a guy that is going to attract a lot of contenders to possibly trade prospects, possibly trade pitching. That's the kind of name that would do that. There's nobody right now in the bullpen that I'm looking at as another team from their perspective and going, yeah, that's a guy that's a lockdown reliever. We just don't have a lot of that. We may have arms, and we do. We have guys that can throw. Rysell, as bad as Rysell has been this year, he's still a guy who you can depend on 9 times out of 10. I say that, but you hear me out. He's still a guy you can count on regularly to give you a solid inning of relief. Change of scenery. We've heard it a million times before. You never know. But I don't think he's a guy that you're going to put in a trade package that's going to seal the deal, if that makes any sense. At least not right now. Maybe last year, but not right now. There's other guys out there. Obviously, Jared Kelenic could be thrown into a deal. Young prospects could be thrown into a deal, no doubt about that. We do have some guys that are solid arms at the lower levels. Ian Mejia here at AA in Columbus has been terrific this year. Blake Burkhalter is really solid. J.R. Ritchie, I was at the game the other night for his start, and J.R. Ritchie, I spoke to a scout, and I said, all right, who are you here to see? And, of course, it was J.R. Ritchie. So there's guys that are getting attraction. But that all said, I don't know that the Braves really have a lot to trade, right? So you're a soft seller. You're not making any big moves. You're not making any blockbuster, shocker, oh my gosh, they just traded Ozzie Albies. That's not going to happen. But I think you may sell those guys and get ready to compete for next year, right? It's a soft seller. And you'll never hear Alex Anthopoulos say that. You'll never hear Brian Snickers say that. You'll hear me saying it because I'm judging the actions of the team as opposed to what they say because, they're not going to tell you the playbook, right? So that's how I view it. And unfortunately for the Braves right now, the math isn't necessarily on their side. Look, it's not impossible to make up 8 games from now to October. That's not impossible at all. What is impossible is to do that without adding to this team. So we'll have to see. And truth be told, it's really on the shoulders of Alex Anthopoulos, because if at the deadline he feels that this team with this addition and this addition could make a run, and frankly, if it's within the budget, he very well may do that. But there's no doubt about it that this series against the Mets, this 3-game series against the Mets, the 3-game series against Miami, the 4-game series against the Mets following that, and the 3-game series against the Phillies, this may be the biggest stretch of the year. And normally, I always go to the calendar and I circle series and, this could be big. I need to, try to get into this game for media. That's kind of how I've always done it. And normally it's a series against the Mets or the Phillies in like September. Here we are in June, and I'm telling you, this could be the biggest stretch of the year for the Braves. This could be where they turn it around. This could be where they're finally, buried 6 feet under. I don't know. But like it says in the title, it's do or die time for the Braves. That all said, guys, we're going to get into your comments. It's going to be a short stream tonight, just a heads up, but I'd love to hear what you got to say. We got to run some commercials and pay the bills. When we return, though, we're getting to your comments. And remember, Super Chats do get priority, so please support the channel by doing that, and support the channel also by liking this stream. It helps us get it out there to more Braves fans, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves.
In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika. New GMC Sierra 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. GMC Terrain with a roomy cabin and pro safety, discounted up to $7,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile. In 2025, we're hammering down high prices at Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika. New Chevy Silverado 4x4 crew cabs, discounted up to $12,000 off. Brand new 2025 Chevy Equinox, the compact SUV with high-tech features, discounted up to $5,000 off. Enjoy the new year with no payments for 120 days. Choose from over 500 new and used vehicles on the lot or on the way. GlennSmith.com. Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. Wanted to get on here. I'm actually in between shifts at the moment, so I'll be headed back to do the 11 o'clock news here later on. But I wanted to get on here just because it is the off day, and it's obviously ahead of some major big-time series for the Braves, so it's a good time to get on. That said, I'm coming here shortly after interviewing Frank Thomas a couple days ago, and of course, you can see that interview. It's not on the channel, at least yet, but you can see an unedited version, pretty much the raw cut of it, currently on the website of my news channel, WRBL. I actually pinned that in the chat if you wanted to watch it after you get done here, but if you wanted to watch it, I really appreciate you going and checking out my interview with the Baseball Hall of Famer, Frank Thomas, and what a cool guy. Just what a cool guy. No doubt about that. But all that out of the way, let's get into the comments. Jake Hobby tunes in. Jamison Taylor tunes in. Daniel Berry tunes in. Charles Pruitt tunes in. Jeff Nelson. Jake Hobby says, we got to do something with the bullpen. Got to at least have a chance to win when the starter gets 15 strikeouts like yesterday. Jake, I'm going to tell you, people acted like I was absolutely insane when I suggested that the bullpen was the biggest problem on the Braves. I don't deny that the offense is a problem, but the bullpen was, to me, a bigger problem because if the offense puts up 4 runs and the bullpen gives 10 away, then what are we doing, right? Some games are pitching duels. And a lot of times this year, truth be told, it's felt like the team has just not been firing off at the same time, right? The pitching may have a really good day, the offense goes quiet. The offense may have a good day, the bullpen gives up, 7 runs in the final 2 innings of the game. So that is true. But at the same time, the bullpen, just from a team dynamic, the bullpen is the only thing on this team that you can fix without completely dismantling the team. All your guys on the field, with the exception of the shortstop, are pretty much locked up long term, right? You don't want to give any of those guys away. The bullpen is the one thing that at the deadline you could make some moves with. That all said, I still don't understand why we DFA'd Craig Kimbrell considering where we are with the pen. A scoreless inning is a scoreless inning in my book, and I'll stand by that. I think, the Kimbrell move was very knee-jerk reaction. Would 93 miles per hour have really made it in the big leagues? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but, my good buddy Leo Mazzoni always said, as long as you can change speeds and locate, you're pretty much doing all right. And he knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two. So that's just my opinion on it. I'm not in the room. I don't know what the agreement was. I don't know. But I thought it was disrespectful to your all-time saves leader. I did think that. And on top of that, I thought it was a bad look a few days later that your bullpen gives up 7 runs when Grant Holmes has 15 strikeouts and you just DFA'd a future Hall of Fame reliever, regardless of the optics. That to me looked terrible. But yeah, they got to do something with the bullpen at the deadline if they're going to compete, because Lord knows if they make it to the playoffs, they're going to get shelled in the later innings. Because right now, there's very few people in the pen that are dependable. Daysbell's hurt. And beyond that, it's questionable. It's really questionable. I hate that we let Minter walk. I thought that was, again, like I said earlier, a misstep, to say the least. I think the Braves wanted to add in the pen in the offseason. I mean, we know they went after Jeff Hoffman. I'm sure there were conversations elsewhere, but they just couldn't make anything shake. And I really believe, like, if it's not this year in the offseason, the Braves are going to go buck wild in the offseason. The luxury tax will be gone, hopefully, and they can spend money pretty much as they see fit. And I think that'll be better for us. And I think if we're not competitive this year, which right now it's on that little teeter-totter of what we're going to do, if we're not competitive this year, we will certainly be competitive, at least financially, next year. And here's the deal, when it comes to the finances. As much as I'm talking about the DFA of Kimbrell, I believe Alex Anthopoulos, number one, knows a lot more than we do. He's more privy to all of the financials and the team dynamic than I will ever be. I don't question anything they do, financially speaking, because the luxury tax is an obstacle. It's an obstacle, maybe not for the Dodgers, maybe not for the Phillies, maybe not for the Yankees. For the Braves, it's an obstacle. And you may be sitting there thinking, going, well, Tyler, they're a multi-million-dollar organization. They have the battery that's making them money, hand over foot. Well, what do you mean they can't compete? Maybe at some point they will reach that upper echelon. Here's the point. It's not that they don't have the money. It's that Liberty Media draws a line in the sand and goes, don't go over it, right? There's conversations that have to happen. And, Alex Anthopoulos can do with what he wants, but if he's trying to look toward the future, which in my mind, what I have got it all down to is that we're looking towards 2026 and beyond. And if we're doing that, then if you get past the luxury tax, it's a clean slate for 2026 and beyond. So maybe that's what we're doing. I don't know, but I wish we were far more competitive than we are right now. That was a very long answer to your one question there, Jake, but I hope it was satisfactory. Guys, just a reminder, please do like the stream. Really would appreciate that. Yasuke says the team is showing signs of life because it wasn't looking good to start the season. As long as they can keep playing winning baseball, the Braves will be okay going forward. I don't disagree. I just think right now, from a scheduling standpoint and from just a mathematics standpoint, the next 4 series are going to be the most important series of the year. That's just how I feel about it. Brandon Edwards says he's betting on Snit hanging up the cleats after this year. Potential candidates: DeRosa, David Ross, Shoemaker, Lehman, Osmus. You got a lot. Weiss, Wash, Flaherty. Out of all of those, I think your most likely candidate would probably be Walt Weiss, just because look, when Bobby retired, they handed it off to Freddie. Freddie was, the third base coach at the time? After Freddie got fired, they handed it off to Snit, who had been in the minor leagues for 45 years, and that's where we're at. So if we're going by that trend, I'd pick Weiss. I just think he's got the best pedigree there. They may go outside. They may go D-Row. I think that's a little unlikely, as much as I think D-Row would enjoy that. He's doing pretty good for himself on MLB Network too. Jake Hobby, that's interesting. I wouldn't mind if Markakis would consider returning to manage us. Yeah, I would like that. I'd like to see Markakis in a coaching role, which we will actually, not at a major league standpoint, but I think the Futures game, he's one of the coaches, so that'll be fun to watch. Mass Boost, by the way, I love Markakis. Mass Boost says they just need to beat all the teams that are ahead of them in the NL East standings. Well, they got a chance here in the next couple weeks. 2 series with the Mets, 7 total games against the Mets over the next couple of weeks. 3 games with the Phillies and 3 games with the Marlins. And the Marlins are below them in the standings, but at the same time, it's going to be, obviously you don't want to give anything up when you have a chance. Just like the Rockies, if you can get wins, get them, regardless over who the opponent is. To be honest, we should have swept the Rockies. They absolutely are dreadful, and we weren't able to do it. John Surratt tunes in, and John is probably, doing something stupid, more than likely. John's a good friend of mine, but boy, oh boy, not a lot going on up there. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. Ronaldo's 12 weeks is July 1st. That's good to know. I'm glad you said that. So a couple weeks. That will be good. I think that kind of helps bridge the gap a little, because if you get Ronaldo back on the 1st, you kind of can usher Grant Holmes back to the pen if need be, because I don't think, he's one that has shown that he can do that. So that to me is most likely. Let's see. Mass Boo says, I'm not sure what he's talking about. Jake Hobby, 13 back of the division and 8 back of the wild card. The battery, pitching is like golf. It's less about the birdies and more about the bogeys and double bogeys. Yeah, you're right. Our bullpen gives up a lot of crooked numbers, no doubt about it. And we had about a quadruple bogey the other day against the Rockies, which is just embarrassing. Surratt says, when a guy has 15 strikeouts and is untouchable, who cares if he's at 90 pitches and walked a guy? They can't touch him. Well, I agree on Grant Holmes with 15. Strider came out with 87 pitches. They didn't go back to him in the 7th. I was a little like, he could go another one. Let him go another one. But at the same time, Snit is not going to push that. And Glenn Hubbard actually spoke about something similar to that a few years ago when I interviewed him. I saw this clip a couple days ago. He basically said, there was a time in the minor leagues where Snit there was a chance for them to win a minor league championship or something. And the guy on the mound, no names were mentioned, but there was a guy on the mound who was just one of the best pitchers. And Snit could have left him in and won the game, and he took him out because he didn't want to risk injury. Something similar, I think, happened with Strider. There's just no reason to push it. He had 13 strikeouts. Let's call it a day and hand it off to the pen because he's done what he can. That said, the Grant Holmes one, I think he might got 21 strikeouts had they left him in. Surratt says, I'd use Profar to make the playoffs if possible, then eat the contract in the offseason. Well, yeah. Jimenez more likely around August. So, I don't know if Jimenez might be trade bait in that case, because if you don't have him till August and you can get a reliever or a couple arms right now for Jimenez and somebody, why not jump at that? Because by the time you get him in August, the playoffs are either done or dusted. You know what I mean? So it's tough. Let's see. A lot of folks in the chat. Appreciate you guys tonight. I lost my spot, so I'm stalling. But a lot of guys in the chat. The battery says maybe the Yankees will give us back Max Fried. If only. Yeah, that'd be nice. Jeffrey Humphrey says $218 million was way too much for Fried, especially for 8 years on a pitcher. A few too many IL stints as well in crunch times. Yeah, I mean, not to mention blisters, right? So it is what it is. We love Max Fried, but pitching is just a tough thing to spend money on. A while back, I don't know if it's still true, but there were like 6 of the top highest paid pitchers were on the IL. So it's just not. It's a bad investment on the stock market. Mass Boost says, but the Braves have been a part of how many one-run losses? If the offense is scoring one more run per game, all those losses likely wouldn't have happened. I don't disagree with that. But again, are you going to trade Michael Harris when he's struggling, right? Because he's turning it around now. That's the thing. Your offense is going to have this. There's one thing that doesn't slump in baseball or shouldn't slump in baseball, and that's defense, right? We've seen, obviously this year there's been little wobbly there, but that's my point. Both pitching and hitting are going to slump. Your guys that are hitting, that are slumping, aren't slumping because they're bad. They're slumping because they're slumping. It goes with the territory. They'll turn it around. You're talking about all-stars. They got an MVP back. And here's the other thing about the offense. I knew when Acuna came back, the offense was going to start revving up. He's the engine that makes the offense go. That's who he is. But the pitching, you have a lot of injuries there. You get, obviously, A.J. Smith-Shawver, Reynaldo Lopez in the rotation. Strider's coming off of it. Finally had a solid performance where the velo was back, but he's coming off of it. And the bullpen, I mean, name me a consistent reliever in the pen right now. Maybe Dylan Lee, but that's kind of my point. It's that we don't have anybody that I'm like, yep, that one's done. I can walk away from this because I can't. So the bullpen is no doubt the biggest problem on the team right now. There's just no question of that. And I've said that since the beginning. So the offense is as dreadful as they have been from time to time. I think that's going to change a little with Acuna back. But Marcel's playing hurt. And, with Acuna gone, there's just not a lot to, there's a lot of holes in the lineup. Obviously, like Nick Allen is not necessarily going to just blow the roof off the place, right? So I think Ozzie specifically would play better when Acuna is there. I've actually done a video. It's been a few years, but I did a video of talking about Ronald Acuna and Ozzie Albies, and I looked at the stats for Albies when Acuna was there versus not there, and it was a pretty staggering difference. So I think just having Acuna there is going to make a difference. Just in the ballpark would make a difference, specifically for Ozzie anyway. But having him in the lineup, number one, he's an immediate power threat at the top. He's got speed. He is a solid outfielder. He made a play a couple weeks ago when he first got back from right field that was just outstanding. So you're improving that position and that spot in the lineup drastically. When you get Profar back, that will be solid, but at the same time, you can't use them for the playoffs. So it's kind of a great, but is this going to mean anything later on? So, John Surratt says, I'm actually scared about Freddie Gonzalez potentially taking the managerial job, maybe. I don't think that's going to happen. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be scared that he's back in the organization. Let's see. Joseph Alvarez. The Braves are dead. They're dead. It's not yet. I mean, they're on life support, but they're not dead yet. No team in baseball history have made the playoffs with a 0-7 start. This is a good team playing bad baseball for a year and a half now. Okay. Let's roll it back. So, number one, they're not dead. Mathematically speaking, they still got a chance. And the other thing about it is I don't think they played bad baseball. Y'all know what my thoughts are on it last year. Injuries, in my opinion, got in the way of what could have been a really good season for the Braves. Didn't get off to a great start. Acuna gets hurt. Riley got hurt. Michael Harris got hurt. I mean, everybody other than Matt Olson and Marcell Ozuna pretty much got hurt. Strider got hurt. I can't remember all of them, but there was quite a bit that were just injured. I went to the press box one time and during last year, and they have game notes, which I'm sure you guys have probably seen something like this, but they have game notes about this tall. The entire right side injuries. It was about a column about that thick, and the font was very small, and it was just injuries, and it was just all the way down the page. So injuries certainly played a factor. So to say they're playing bad baseball for a year and a half, I don't think is very fair. In terms of no team ever have making it to the postseason with an 0-7 start, consider we've only had the expanded postseason for a couple years. Just consider that. Now, if this was the 90s where winning the division and making it to the playoffs was the only way you ever got to do it, I agree with you. But 0-7, what if you win the next 15 games? That's not impossible, right? What if you go 0-7 because you play you play the Dodgers and the Padres to start the season, two of the biggest payrolls in baseball. You go 0-7. You're also lacking the MVP and Spencer Strider. But you go 0-7. No excuses. You go 0-7, but then you rattle off 15 wins because you're playing the Rockies, the Marlins, the Nationals, and, whatever else jabroni teams we have, the White Sox maybe. But that's my point, right? Like, what if you win 15 games? Teams have won 15 games straight before. Now you're 15-7. Are you going to the playoffs? Well, who knows? Because you have another 130 games to play. So to say that you can't go to the playoffs after going 0-7, I don't really buy into that. No team's done it, but there was a time where no team had ever come back from a 0-3 start to a playoff series, and the Red Sox did it, right? So stuff like that's meant to be broken. I don't know that the Braves will do it this year, but if there's ever another team that starts 0-7 and comes back and, does it, then, obviously we'll all eat crow. But I just don't think that, I don't think saying it's impossible is very fair, because I think a team could do it. Especially if, let's say, multiple guys got injured in spring training and didn't play the first week of the season. I mean, it's very possible that a team could do it. That's such a small, just a small sample size of the season that I just don't think that's very fair. Let's see, a lot of folks in the chat. The battery, part of the reason that's never happened is because this many teams have never been invited to the playoffs before. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, if only 4 teams made it, or if only 6 teams made it, you're talking 8 teams now make it. Is that right? No. I'm sorry. You're talking, how many teams make it to the playoffs? I'm tripping right now. 3. So 10 teams making it? I don't know. Anyway, you're talking far more teams making it into the playoffs. I can't think. I'm sorry. I cut the grass today, and, it's just, my mind's not all there. But you're talking well more teams making it to the playoffs these days. And I don't think it's impossible to say that the team could do it now. That's the only reason I think the Braves are still alive. If we were still in the old rules, then, we'd be out of it. And to be honest with you, I still think we should be going by the old rules. I think the playoffs should be hard to get into. I think the regular season should mean something. I've said that countless times. Does that mean that the Braves don't deserve to be in? No, if they make it. But I don't love the playoff system. I've never loved the playoff system since they've adjusted it. It seems to always bite the Braves some kind of way. But that's just, my take. A lot of folks in here. One Ron brings up a good point. The team being stuck in between approaches at the plate. Yeah, no doubt about that. I think we're starting to see the reason I think that's happening is because I think they're starting to adjust. right? They're starting to make changes and trying to compensate for what hasn't happened this year. And, whether that's fair or not, but that's why they're stuck, right? They're trying to do too much. I'll never forget that article that came out with Kevin Seitzer talking about that, the guy who gets this team not to be too much in their head is the guy that's going to be successful coaching them. So they're trying to do too much, and, it is what it is. That said, guys, it's 9 o'clock. I got to get back to work, actually, so we're going to leave it there. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate that. Always appreciate you guys tuning in. We will put an edited version with graphics, basically illustrating all the math out there probably tomorrow. And, of course, we're also putting out more and more shorts these days. We're putting out more and more videos than we pretty much ever have before. Expect more. They are coming your way. The Frank Thomas interview, again, go check that out. It will be on the channel at some point, but I'm going to let it get views on the good old WRBL website. I linked that in the description. Please go check it out. You know what? I'm going to show you guys this real quick. Stand by. Hang on a second. All right. I'm not one to promote alcohol. It's never been my thing, but this FT35 vodka, first off, thanks to Frank Thomas for giving it to me. Pretty cool thing to have on the shelf, especially considering he signed it. Very cool. These are at your local places, wherever they may be, all across Georgia, Alabama. So go check them out. Over 200 stores. For me, it's the Bottle Shop. I think they're all over the place there. So if you're in the neighborhood, go check them out. Frank Thomas, of course, is from Columbus, so pretty cool to get to interview the guy that I grew up knowing that in my hometown there was no one any better ever than, the future Hall of Famer, Frank Thomas, now Hall of Fame. But he played right up the road from me, and he played at my high school's rival school, Columbus High. So obviously, pretty cool to interview Frank Thomas. I mean, cool to interview him anyway, but to interview the guy who pretty much ran the show here in Columbus for a long time. But again, pretty darn cool. If you want to go get, I don't know if it's your thing. It's regular vodka. He's got peach vodka. He's got a pecan whiskey. Pretty darn, obviously pretty popular. So FT35 vodka. And again, thanks to Frank Thomas. If you're out there, if you're one of the 30 people watching, we do appreciate you. John Surratt, thank you for tuning in. You need to go read a book or something, but we love you anyway. To everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. And obviously, thank you to our sponsors, Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. If you need a vehicle, they are the place to go to. I can promise you that. You will leave there with a smile. They promise that every single time. And obviously, great deals on cars. They post on Facebook all the time that people are driving from Timbuktu to buy cars from them. It's because they have really good deals. I wouldn't put them on here if they didn't. That said, guys, thank you for being here tonight, and really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.